27. 26 knots down the angle. 106 interval is a rhino at 5. Good. 207 on flat path on course 1 mile. Good. 207 on flat path on course.
On the 1st of May 2019, French citizens Patrick Piquet and Laurent Lazimalaz were on a trip to the Pendjari National Park in northwestern Benin. Accompanied by their tour guide, the two were driving through the park when a group of militants ambushed their vehicle. Forced out of the car at gunpoint, the two Frenchmen were bundled to the roadside and taken as hostages, whilst their tour guide was killed and their car set on fire. Alerted to the disappearance of the three men, Beninese forces dispatched 100 park rangers, 15 vehicles and 2 aircraft to search the Pendjari area in the hopes of finding them, and it would not be until 3 days later on the 4th that the burnt out wreck of their car and the body of their guide were discovered. By this time, the kidnappers had taken the two Frenchmen across the border and into neighbouring Burkina Faso. Believing that the militants were heading for war-torn Mali, French and American forces deployed 3 MQ-9 Predator drones into the sky, whilst a small detachment of French special forces were inserted onto the ground in a bid to locate the hostages. Eventually, a positive identification was achieved by the French operators, who on the 7th of May identified a 4x4 containing a total of 6 militants and the 2 hostages. Tracking the vehicle, the French military did not authorise an immediate rescue attempt, believing that unless the vehicle became stationary, it was virtually impossible to act without causing harm to the hostages. Then, in the afternoon of the 9th of May, a short window of opportunity presented itself when the kidnappers established a small camp near the village of Gurum, approximately 65 kilometers south of the Malian border. For the French, this was a surprise development, and one they knew they had to take advantage of. Speaking afterwards, the commander of the French Special Operations Command, Vice Admiral Laurent Isnard, said, "It was absolutely necessary to take advantage of this opportunity, this downtime during which we had the hostages and the terrorists in our visuals." For Vice Admiral Isnard and his staff, there were several difficulties that they had to overcome in planning a rescue operation in such a short amount of time, namely how they were going to get an assault force onto the target with such speed that the militants wouldn't have time to execute the 2 hostages. After discussing this issue with a handful of senior officers from Commando Hubert, the French Special Forces unit tasked with executing the operation, Isnard concluded that a force of approximately 20 commandos would land a short distance away from the camp via helicopters, move forward on foot, infiltrate the target perimeter, and only when the operators were meters from the militants would they conduct an assault. It's also been rumoured that the 1st Marine Infantry Paratroopers Regiment and the Air Paratrooper Commando No. 10, both units constituting the French Special Forces, also provided operators for the assault force to supplement the commandos from Commando Hubert. However, this has never been confirmed by the French military. By late evening on the 9th, Isnard and his staff had finalised the operations plans and passed them on to the Chief of the Defence Staff, who immediately approved them. At this juncture, French President Emmanuel Macron, who was away on a trip to Romania, was informed of the plans and gave the green light for them to be launched. By the time this order came through, the assault force, having departed the Burkinese capital, was already in the air on its way to the target. Just before midnight on the 9th of May 2019, 20 commandos from Section B, 1st Company Commando Hubert, were inserted by French helicopters, most likely from the 4th Special Forces Helicopter Regiment, onto a landing zone that was out of earshot from the militant camp. Overhead, French Predator drones provided overwatch across the area, whilst a small medical team which had flown in from Paris was waiting at a distance on standby. Equipped with their night vision goggles, the French commandos moved forward to the target, and soon began to make out the silhouettes of the 4 tents which made up the camp, with the 4x4 used by the militants parked just meters away, and a sentry standing guard on the perimeter. Closing to within 10 metres of the camp, one of the commandos, using his silenced rifle, took out the guard. However, in doing so, he alerted one of the other militants, who could be heard inside one of the tents, loading his rifle. Aware that staying in position any longer would potentially compromise the mission, the French commandos commenced their assault on the camp. Rushing into the target, the commandos simultaneously entered the 4 tents, where they came across 3 of the militants, who immediately opened fire. Engaging the enemy at close range, the French operators killed all 3 kidnappers, whilst the remaining 2 of the 6 militants fled from the area. Clearing the tents, the commandos found the 2 French hostages, alive and well, and to their surprise 2 others, one South Korean and one American, who are not known to have been on the target. In fact, the French, American and South Korean governments didn't even know they were missing and had been kidnapped over a month earlier. Despite the objective being secured, the commandos suffered 2 fatal casualties in the firefight, Master Cedric de Pierrepoint and Master Alan Bertoncello, both of whom were sadly killed in action during the assault. On the 14th of May 2019, a national memorial service was held in Paris in tribute to the 2 commandos. During the service, both commandos were posthumously awarded the Legion of Honour, France's highest military award.